What's up, everybody? Troy Cartwright here. Welcome back to another episode of 10-Year Town. Before we get started, do us a huge favor. Go to our YouTube channel. It's 10-Year Town, or you can get there at 10yeartown.com and hit subscribe. It helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it. Thanks. Today's guest is RaeLynn. RaeLynn is from Baytown, Texas, and you know her from songs like God Made Girls, Love Triangle, Queens Don't, and many, many more. I learned so much in this episode about RaeLynn, about how hardworking and dedicated she is to her craft. I know you guys are going to love this episode, so without further ado, here she is, RaeLynn. Even the days where I'm like, this song's not even good. So, half the time, those are the ones that end up being, like, or it's like some song I don't know. I
like the sneaky good songs.
Yeah.
The ones that you're like, man, I think that song kind of blows. And then you get home and you're like, shit, it's in my head all day.
Yeah.
Like,
or I just had a song get put on hold that I forgot I wrote.
That's been happening to me recently.
And it was like pretty big, and I don't know if it'll get cut, but it's like a pretty big artist. And I was like, what song?
I was just at a party, like a New Year's Eve party, and this girl was like, yeah, so-and-so's got that one song on hold of yours that I love. And I was like, bitch, you didn't tell me. I didn't know that. Like, how the hell do I not know what's going on in my freaking life, man?
It's because nobody ever tells you.
No, and you know what? I kind of like it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I kind of want to know so I can pray.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I don't know. There's so much I can't control that, like, the things I can control, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to like hold on tight. And like, it doesn't do you any good half the time. It doesn't. Like,
you're just going to friggin' fly by the seat of your pants.
Let it rip, And I don't know. I feel like my best, like, performing songs or TikToks or whatever are the ones that I was just like, I don't know. Throw it up there and see.
I know that's my life right now. Just throwing shit to the wall and seeing what sticks.
I feel like I traded, like being. It's like the difference of being independent or versus being on a label is like I've just exchanged, like, the gatekeeper was like a suit, and now it's like an algorithm.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like not really. Is it any better? Like, I don't know.
And the suit is just trying to work with the algorithm, but taking all your money. So
yeah.
So you might as well make that money.
You might as well make that money. Don't I know?
Don't I know?
Oh man. Well, we can get into that later if you want.
Oh hell yeah! I'll talk about anything.
Okay. Hell yeah. Well, I was when I was driving over here, I was like, I don't know. I was just thinking of questions, but I was like, I don't know how real you want to be.
I'm all about living real, man.
Yeah.
We've all lived a lot of life.
Yeah.
There's nothing really off the table that I won't talk about.
All right. That's good to know.
That's good to know.
With that, well, I always start this thing off with the same question, which is, how long have you been in town?
How long have I been in town? Well, I moved here in 2012.
Okay.
So I'm 12 years into a 10-year town.
Dang.
Yeah.
Just like
the Haley Woodard song.
What a great song.
What a great song.
God.
I'll never forget when I heard that song. I was in my car, and it was a down day in Nashville. You know those down days where you feel like
you were down, or like it was raining?
I was down.
Okay.
Personally, it's probably a sunny day, honestly. And then I heard that song, and I was like, oh, we can do this. Just hold on one more day.
Yeah.
But no, I've been here for 12 years.
Wow.
So we're doing it.
Where from?
So I am from Baytown, Texas.
Okay.
Which, if you don't know where Baytown is, it's outside of Houston.
Okay.
And grew up in a very musical family. Grew up in the church. Played, I still don't know any of the chords that I play or anything. I just play by ear.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty great for the creative brain, because I don't know if I'm playing anything wrong. I just, whatever feels right, I kind of go with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up playing in church, singing in church. My cousin was in a Christian rock band called the band Leland.
Okay.
And their albums were nominated for a couple Grammys. And so I was around a lot of the Christian, sphere of things. But, you know, if you know me, was not cut out for Christian music.
Did you think maybe at one point?
Nah, man. I mean, I love Jesus so much, and you want me a bigger person that has faith, and like I read my Bible every day, or I try to. I'm not perfect, but
Yeah.
I love Jesus. But I was like, I'm not cut out for Christian music. I like to cuss a little bit, and not at the time, but I do like tequila.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up around music, and the one thing I love about country music is faith and, you know, real life. It kind of all goes together.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so grew up in Baytown, and my dad owns a tire shop in Baytown.
Awesome.
So I was around a lot of blue collar, hard workers. Baytown's kind of known for chemical plants. So everybody works at a chemical plant, and it smells like shit, but to be honest, but you know, it's home to me. But, you know, I think the biggest thing that I loved about Baytown is it's a bigger city. It's like 60, 70,000 people. But it's a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. And the one thing that I loved about our church growing up is you would have like a homeless man sitting right by a guy that was a millionaire. Like it was just a big melting pot of people. And I think that it really, like, being around so many different people from so many walks of life really kind of shaped the person that I am today. So,
yeah, that's amazing. And how did you go from being in Baytown?
Being in Baytown to okay, oh my gosh, there's so many. How deep do you want to go in the story? Okay, so.
As deep as you want.
Like I mentioned, I grew up in a musical family, and so everybody in my family can sing, and everybody can pretty much write music.
Do you have like a big family?
Pretty big family. Okay. So my mom had 4 kids in her first marriage, and my dad had 3 in his.
Okay.
Then they came together.
Gotcha.
Had me. So I have 7 brothers and sisters, big blended family.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I wanted to do music. I mean, it was in me obviously as a kid. I sang in every Christmas, Easter program, and I naturally picked up the guitar, and of course I led worship in our youth group. That was kind of like, you're the pastor's kid, you know, you gotta, like, my mom was a pastor, my aunt and uncle were pastors of the church, so it's like you just gotta help out, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. It was a part of it. But since everybody like was doing the music thing, I was like, I don't want to do the music thing. I want to like act. I want to do something different where people can't tell me what to do, because everybody was so opinionated in my family about everything. So I was like, I'm going to go be an actress. Like, I'm going to go like chase this, which is funny. So I started like taking acting classes at like 14, 15 in Houston. And I ended up graduating early. I went to like a homeschooling program and graduated at 16.
Wow.
And then I went to Vegas for this acting seminar.
Okay.
And looking back, it probably was a scam. You know, like, you know, it's like, hey, you want your kid to be on Disney Channel?
Yeah.
Pay $15,000 for them to come to this thing.
Yep.
And it probably was a scam, truly. But thank you, Jesus. The Lord always had a plan, and it was not a scam for me.
Yeah.
It ended up, I probably could have saved the money that my poor, dad spent on me going to this thing.
Yeah.
But, in the end, I went, and then I ended up doing this like acting seminar thing, and I did music. They were like, what's your, extra hobby thing? And so I did the acting part, but then I was like, oh, I can also sing. So at this thing in Vegas, they were like, at the end of it, you get like so many callbacks, and I got like 35 callbacks, which was really crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what any of that meant, but I was like, okay, cool. So then I went to LA, and if you know me, like, Baytown's very country. Like, I'm not cut out for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, I was quickly like the redheaded stepchild of Los Angeles.
Did you move there?
I moved there for a year at 16.
Oh my God.
So like, and then like, my parents are kind of crazy. Like, when I think about like them trusting me to like know that like, hey, this is what I want to do. But like, this is where I'm very grateful for my mom and dad because they saw my passion for what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm graduating early. I want to be an artist. I want to be an actress. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I knew that at a very young age. And I was determined to do that. I was like, I am going to be a star.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do it. I don't care how hard I have to work. I'm doing this. And they believed in me and they saw, and I worked so hard. Like I would learn songs on YouTube. Like I was just doing whatever I needed to do. So I get these callbacks and I moved to LA just for a year. And my dad was like, I'm going to give you a year. I'm going to see how you do. Like, and every week I would have somebody come stay with me. So one week my stepmom would stay with me. 1 week my mom would stay with me. 1 week my dad would stay with me. 1 week my cousin would come out. So it was like a vacation. Everybody would just come out to LA and stay with me for a week. And I lived in Burbank. And I moved there and this, I get signed to an agency where they're going to book me auditions every month.
Yeah.
And truly that was like such a God thing because it's like the agency that I was with was really great, but I didn't know really.
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of a bajillion people that are signed to that agency. And to uproot your whole life and to move, like just to wait, it was like really a hurry up and wait kind of situation in LA. Like, I mean, if you're a big actress, you're getting, roles all the time. But I wasn't. I mean, I was a nobody. Mm-hmm. So I was like, and I was also going up against all these kids on Disney, and it was just I didn't like it. Like you'd going into an audition room and everybody's just staring at you, and I'm just like, hey, I just want to be friends. Like, if you get the role, hell yeah, congrats. Like, but I was very chill. I've never been a jealous person. I've always been somebody that's just like, whatever's meant to happen is to happen. Of course, I would love for that opportunity to be mine, but it is what it is. I'm just here to, be me, whatever. And so I would get like one audition a month, and I had so much free time in Los Angeles, California. And I'm from Texas, which it was just weird. And so all that free time I had, because, I wanted to be an actress, I didn't want to do music, started writing songs. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I kind of like this music thing. And so I just started like learning songs on YouTube. And the time, in my life, Miranda Lambert didn't do any wrong. Like she was the queen of country music. She still is, obviously. But I learned every song of hers on guitar that I could. Then I started, learning Ingrid Michaelson and all these. I tried different genres, and I just was kind of just learning whatever I could learn.
Yeah.
And with all this free time, because like I said, I was graduated, waiting on auditions, doing one acting class a week. That's a lot of free time.
Yeah.
I saw this ad on like Facebook, and they were like, hey, or this thing that was basically like, come play a couple songs for this contest to win a free music video. And as a 16-year-old, you're looking in a mirror with your hairbrush. You're dreaming of the day
you get a
freaking music video, right? Like,
absolutely.
I've been dreaming of doing a music video. So I'm like, hell yeah, I want it. I want a music video. I just wrote this song that's pretty average, but it needs a music video.
Yeah.
And so I get to this coffee shop, and I start playing. I think I played "The Way I Am" by Ingrid Michaelson. I played a country version of "Born This Way" by Lady Gaga, and then made it my own. And then I think I sang "Hell on Heels" or by the Pistol Annies.
Yeah.
And then I sang an original song, so it was 4 songs. And I knew that I gave it my all. I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm getting this music video.
Yeah.
Did not get the music video. And I was pretty let down.
Yeah.
But what I did get was a woman came up to me by the name of Judy Stakey and didn't know who she was. And, at this time I'd lived in LA so I moved around my birthday in May. And this was in March or April.
Okay.
So almost a year. And my mom and dad, they were like, hey, you get a year. Like, we're going to give you a year in LA, and then we're going to bring you back, and then we'll just do the fly out thing. But we're going to give you 1 full year, kind of get ingrained, see if this is what you want to do. And so like my year was coming up. I only had a couple months left, right? And like at the time, nothing with acting was going. Like it was just, and I was pretty sad about that. But it's so funny because I'm 16. I think my whole world's ended. Like I'm such a failure. Like you're 16. But I put a lot of pressure on myself. But anyway, so I meet this woman named Judy, and you know, being in LA doing music, like I had a couple people come up to me and they're like, oh, you know, I'll produce you. You'll be like $8,000 a track. And I'm like, I'm not paying $8,000 a track.
Yeah.
Like, and it like now looking back, living in music, like in Music City, the tracks were so bad. And they were just trying to like, we get a great song at the end of the day.
Absolutely,
writing
yeah.
now. But like when I think about like what they were going to give me and like the way it sounded, I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine if I paid like $8,000 a track? Like they were just trying to scam me. But you know, I always did like lead with my God gut. That's what I call it. And I knew it wasn't right. So I'm like, all right, no, I'm not doing that. So I meet this woman named Judy Stakey. I look her up because I'm thinking, okay, this girl can't be real because she was, let me go back. So Judy came up to me at this contest that I didn't win, which is sad, but her friend won. And she said, you know, what's your name? And I was like, oh, I'm Rachel Woodward. And I was like, I'm from Texas. And she goes, are you singing or like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I write songs in my bedroom and I'm living here for a year doing acting. And she goes, I would love for you to come by my house and to play me some of your songs. And I was like, okay. Didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
Well, then I look her up on Google, love Google.
Yep.
And she was the head of creative at Warner Chappell, LA for the longest time. Like she signed Katy Perry.
Oh, wow.
She, you know, everybody knew her at Warner Chappell and she wasn't there any longer, but she had her own company.
Yeah.
She was kind of developing songwriters. And so I come in, so I quickly realized that she's actually legit, and I'm super jacked. I'm like, oh my God, this girl likes my song. Like the one song I wrote.
Yeah.
It was literally just one song that I wrote that was actually good. And so I go to her house. It's the most LA house ever. It's so beautiful, so cool. She has like these plaques with Katy Perry and like all this stuff. And then she just starts talking to me, and we just start kind of talking about like where I'm at. And I said, you know, I'm doing the acting thing, but I like music. And she's like, why don't you chase music? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I was like, I just see in my view of things, I just really want to be an actress and I want music to be second. And I was like, and she goes, can I give you some advice? And I was like, listen, I'm all for advice. She goes, I think I would go with what's working and then let the other things just happen. And I said, okay, well, what's working? And she goes, well, to me, I think your music is really working. She said, your songwriting is really great from the one song I heard, and I think you should continue to steward that. And I was like, okay. Like, I mean, I didn't really know what to think because I never thought that my songwriting was great. I mean, I knew that it was good, but I needed somebody to kind of tell me, I think this is good. And so she said, all right, well, you know, can I, have you ever been to Nashville, Tennessee? And I thought that this was funny because, you know, I said this earlier, but my cousin was in a Christian rock band and we went to Nashville every single year for Gospel Music Week. So I started coming to Nashville when I was 10 or 11, selling merch for my cousin's band. Like I went on the road with them when they went on the road with Casting Crowns, like selling merch for them on the road one weekend. And, but so I'd been back and forth to Nashville, but never for country music. To me, like Nashville was for Christian music. I knew that it had like, you know, we went to obviously the Country Music Hall of Fame and stuff, but we would just always go for my cousin Leland because he started coming back and forth at like, he got his first publishing deal at 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
In Nashville, which is wild.
That's crazy.
So it's really young.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, oh, I've been to Nashville. I know a lot about Nashville. I've been going since I was 11. She goes, well, do you mind if I think you should go to Nashville. I might set you up like a trip to meet with, you know, BMI, ASCAP. But she's like, but before we get started, like, I don't want to jump the gun or anything. She's like, let's do a guitar vocal of you singing. It was a song I wrote called Baby That's My Type. And she goes, I'm going to send it out to like 10 different people. And I'm just going to see if we get any bites. And she said, honestly, you might get one or two. Yeah. But you won't like, I'm just, you know, setting a realistic expectation. I was like, okay, well, and I'd never done a writing session. I'd only wrote with my cousin one time. Yeah. Like, I'm very, very, very green. Like, there's nothing about me that knew anything about the music industry. I didn't know even the people that she sent it to are legends, but I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So she sends out my little work tape demo, and I listened to that work tape, and it's so bad. But she's just a guitar vocal of me singing the song, Baby, That's My Type. And every single person that she sent it to wanted to write with me.
Wow.
And she was like, okay.
We got something
here. And I was just like, what? Okay, this is great. And then I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to write about? I don't have ideas. I'm 16. I didn't even go through shit. So I'm just like, what am I supposed to write about, Yeah. And anyways, we get to the planning process of me going to Nashville. At this point, it's April, and we're deciding if I'm going to stay in LA. And then we basically decide that, it's probably, this is kind of a waste of money. I'm not,
Gotcha.
If I'm going to approach music, I can just go back to Texas. My cousin at the time was married to somebody who had a family that lived in Franklin. So I could just go to Franklin or, come stay with them in Franklin.
Visit them.
And go to Wrights, and figure out whatever the hell this was, I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I pack up, we move out of LA, move back to Texas. I felt like such a failure, which is hilarious.
At 16.
My
life is over.
My life is over. Turned 17, and I start going to Nashville. So I turned 17 in May. And literally right when I turned 17, that summer was when I started going back and forth to Nashville. Little did I know, I'm in Wrights with Natalie Hemby.
Just legends.
When they told me that I was writing with the girl that wrote Right Liar, I was like, nah, dude. Nah, you're crazy. Natalie Hemby, Nicole Gallion, April Jesberet, Brad Tersey. Who else was I writing with? Jimmy Robbins before, Jimmy was huge. Me, Jimmy, and Nicole. Even me and Nicole, Nicole will even tell you, when I first started writing with Nicole, she didn't have any huge, major hits yet. She'd had a few, Lauren Elena cuts, but she was still figuring out her footing and in the songwriting world too. And so I'm writing with all these incredible songwriters. I'm going to BMI. I'm going to ASCAP. By the way, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just showing up in a sundress and cowgirl boots and fake hair from Sally's, figuring it out.
That'll get you pretty far, though.
We did it. It was cool. And I was riding with Nicole Gallion and April Jesberet, and we had just wrote a song called California Cowboy, how you can't find cowboys in California. Because I was looking for one, obviously, when I was 16. I couldn't find one. Me and Nicole always talk about all the shitty songs we wrote. We wrote so much together. But anyways, I was sitting there in this write, and like I said, I'm 17, and I'm still figuring out my voice. Yeah. When I listen back at my old demos, I sound so honky, but I was figuring it out, right? I didn't know. And Nicole said to me, she goes, hey, you should audition for The Voice. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm done with TV. And I hadn't even done TV, but something about LA, I was like, nah, I'm done with TV. Didn't even get on a show.
Retired.
But just retired. 17, I'm done. And she goes, no, you should audition for The Voice. I have a spot. And I think you should take this spot. I was like, I'm not going to take your spot to audition. You need to audition. She's like, no, I think that you should do it. And so I was like, all right, well, I do love Blake. Blake Shelton is one of my favorite country artists. I've seen him at the rodeo a bajillion times because I grew up in Houston where we went to the rodeo every year. Yeah. That's where I found my love for country music. But so I was like, all right. And then I felt bad for taking her spot, but then she ended up getting another spot. Thank you, Jesus. God really took care of Nicole, obviously. Look at her now. And so I auditioned, so that was I think it was a Thursday, and I remember having to extend my flight to go home Saturday because I was going to audition on Friday. Yeah. And so I was like, what the hell am I going to sing at this audition? And so the private auditions, it's you don't have to go to the cattle call. So it's basically where they've already filtered out that you can sing. Right. So it's just basically it's one step above the cattle call. So it's really not great, but it's better than having to sit in that long ass line and wait. And so I get to this audition and I sing my country version of Born This Way. I'm sticking to the program. I'm not changing it. My country version of Born This Way. Ingrid Michaelson, The Way I Am. And then I do Baby That's My Type. And then they asked me, and I could tell that they liked me.
Yeah.
You know, they were vibing.
Yeah.
I was excited.
Vibes were good.
The vibes were high, man. And then they looked at me. She goes, "If you could pick a team, what team would you pick?" I said, "Hands down, Blake Shelton.
Yeah.
That's who I'd want." She goes, "Okay," and she goes, "Well, you're definitely my favorite of today." And she said, "You're definitely going to California." And I was just like, "What?" Dang. So they told me right then that I was going, and she gave me this like golden ticket.
Right.
And I was like, "What the hell does this mean?" I was like, "This is crazy."
Yeah.
So then I leave and I'm crying. I'm like, "Oh my God, my dreams are coming true." I didn't even know I wanted to do country music for a living. I thought I was going to do this, and it was just wild. And so then that was later in the summer that happened, because I was writing for a couple months, and then that was later in the summer. And then I go out to LA, literally 5 minutes from where I just lived earlier in the year. So, I'm trying to do the timeline. So I left in April, came back by that October.
Wow.
5 minutes staying at a hotel where I was. And it was so funny because there's like, who's this country bumpkin that knows where she's at? Like, I knew where places to go. I loved this Greek restaurant right down the road. Like, I knew all the places to go.
Yeah.
I was like, I just lived here for a year. They're like, why did you live here? So I get to this, we're sequestered. I was like, all right, I'm doing the voice thing. And so my plan, it's just so crazy that I had such a business mindset at such a young age. I was like, all right, well, I don't really know how far I'll get on the show, but this is a great way for me to, get my artistry out there.
Yeah.
So in between me being on the show, I'm going to go to Nashville and write. So that way I can have some songs in the can. Like, I was planning this stuff.
Yeah.
That's 17, like wild, which is like the fact that my brain even like did that. I was just like, we gotta work, we gotta do this. Yeah. We're making dreams happen, y'all. We're doing this. And so I get to the show. There's like 120 of us that are gonna do the blind auditions. Make it through the Mark Burnett audition. So you have to audition again in front of Mark Burnett. And then if you get past Mark Burnett, then you get to go in front of the judges.
Gotcha.
Well, there was 4 days of auditions. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. If you were day 4, you're pretty much like, you want to be on day 1. Day 1 or day 2.
They get
because
full.
The teams get full, right? And so, I'm just praying each way. I'm like, Lord, let me be on day 1. Let me be on day 1. Yeah. And then, we're all in the room. I mean, this whole process was very nerve-wracking because it was only season 2. They only done, I was one of the OG seasons.
Yeah, this is like, The Voice is big time.
Yeah,
and it still is, but
it's still, but not as big as it was then. I mean, and season 1 was big, but season 2, they were getting in their groove. Like the first, I think, 10 seasons were like really, that was like the heyday of like, not saying that it's still not successful, but you know what I mean? Like the excitement of something new and different. And so we're all sitting in this room. It's like a conference room. And they're, marking out, they're saying names of the first day. And I was literally like the last name that they said. And I was like, holy Jehovah, thank you so, Father, I made it. I was like so excited. And so then the next day you audition.
Yeah.
So I get there and I'm literally about to walk on stage. My audition song is Hell on Heels. I've sang that song. I literally practiced that. I sang that song probably 1,000 times. Yeah. I sang it so much that when I was on stage, I had like an out of body experience. Like it was like a robot singing it, and I'm like having all these thoughts that went through my head. But anyways, I'm on at the side of the stage. I'm literally watching this whole production go around me. I've never been around something like this. I'm 17 years old from Baytown, Texas. Like I'd never seen anything like this. Like I've never been on a TV set. Like this is wild, and I'm seeing like Adam Levine walk by and like. CeeLo Green, and you see him like with all these security people, and I'm like, Christina Aguilera, like, where the hell am I? How did I get here? It's only by the grace of God. Like, this is wild. And I'm on the side stage, and my mom and my dad are there, and my mom looks at me and she goes, honey, breathe, pray, and shake your shit. And I'm like, hell yeah, I am. And so I get on stage and I put the guitar on and I start singing and I'm like, holy shit, I'm singing, I'm on stage, here we are. And then wham, Adam Levine turns around and I'm like, oh my God, I made it on national television. I'm going to be on The Voice. And I don't think that The Voice showed this, but Adam had turned around like second line. Like, I'm hell on you, say what you will, I've done made. When I got I've done made the devil a deal, he had already hit it.
Wow.
Like, he turned around right at the top of the song.
Yeah.
And he heard the part of my voice that I didn't really even tap into till I was probably singing for like 5 or 6 years. Like that really sweet part of my voice that I didn't really know was there.
Yeah.
Because that verse I sang really like sweet, and then I got into like, and there's I got real country and real honky, and then that's when Blake hit his. He's like, that's my girl. But Blake turned around a little bit after him, and I'm like sitting there. I'm like, holy crap, that's Blake Shelton. I love him so much, and I'm just like, thinking about all the times I've sang Some Beach with my dad in the truck, and I'm like, this is wild. And so then I'm sitting there and I'm watching Blake and his big grin, and then Adam, and then these two guys just start fighting over me, and I'm like, this is wild. Like I one of the first records I bought was songs about Jane. Like, and I'm like, because I've been a big fan of like all kinds of music my whole life. Obviously, country was the foundation, but I've always just loved music.
Yeah.
And so obviously I decided to go with Blake, which was the best decision that I could have ever made because he's still in my life. He's like a big brother to me and uncle, all the things. And so I made that decision, made it on the show, and I didn't win. I made it to top 12. But at the time, I didn't really know what any of it meant. Obviously, I signed my life away, didn't know what that meant either, signing all that paperwork.
Yeah.
But I was super grateful because if I would have won the show, I wouldn't have owned anything.
Yeah.
And because I didn't win, they could pick me up for a record deal, but they couldn't pick me up for publishing. So I got to own my own publishing, and I got to pick where I wanted to go and negotiate that. And I really do think that the Lord, protected me because it was a great thing for me to move to town and at least have my publishing, Yeah. So, but that's kind of sorry, amazing. I talk a lot.
Hey, that's great. This is a podcast.
This is for talking.
So you move, like, does your life kind of change like pretty quickly after that? Like, did you come back to Nashville right away or? So,
in between the filming of The Voice, so I couldn't say that I was on The Voice.
Gotcha.
Only like a handful of people knew.
Yeah.
In between before it went live, I was coming back and forth to Nashville. So I would just say, hey, I'm on a show. I can't tell you what show.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
But this is kind of what I'm working on. I really want to work on music. And that's when I wrote my first single that I ended up putting out after the show called Boyfriend.
Okay.
And I started writing a lot with Nicole Gallion. So in between that little season, I would come stay with Nicole and Rodney at their place out in Old Hickory.
Yeah.
Like I had my own little room. Like they called it the Ray Suite, and I lived with Rodney and Nicole, and Nicole would take me to all my rights, and we wrote every single day, and she kind of helped me. Honestly, she really helped champion me right when I came to town, kind of figure out what I was doing.
When it's so invaluable to have someone that just sort of knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Because there's so much you don't.
And she knew I was on the show because she's obviously the one that, gave me the audition, and we had that experience together. But when The Voice aired, my life did change overnight. I didn't know. So I knew I was going to be on the first episode, but the show was airing right after the Super Bowl. So it was Super Bowl's done, The Voice. Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where I was going to be in the episode.
Right.
I was the first audition right after the Super Bowl in 2012. Whoa. So it was the Patriots won. Whoa, go, Tom Brady. And then my husband loves Tom Brady, so I was kind of making fun of Tom Brady. And so it was, Tom Brady won. Woo! The Voice. Hey, I'm RaeLynn Woodard from Baytown, Texas. Literally, that's how quick it was. And so it's funny because Josh remembers watching my season on The Voice because he was like, oh, that's a cute blonde girl. I was like, you didn't even know you were looking at your wife, boy.
Dang.
And so anyway, so after the show aired, like I had like 300 followers on Twitter. Remember Twitter?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Before it was X? And I went from having like 300 to 10,000 in the matter of like
It's just
5 hours.
So much exposure.
And it was just so much exposure overnight. And after, so then, you know, I did the lives, made it to top 12. And then after The Voice, I decided to live in Nashville for a summer. So The Voice, I think, ended around my birthday because it ended and then I turned 18.
Gotcha.
And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to give it a summer in Nashville and I'm going to kind of see what happens. And Big Machine was kind of flirting with me at the time if they were going to pick up my deal or not.
Gotcha.
I think they were trying to figure out, you know, the songs I was writing or whatever. So they started putting me in rooms. I started writing more songs. And then that summer, the end of the summer, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to get a roommate. And, you know, I just kind of was honestly just taking it day by day. And so then I found a roommate, went and lived in the Gulch before the Gulch looked like it does.
Yeah.
Lived in the Velocity with this girl named Megan. She was super chill and she was a young songwriter too. And then I got offered a record deal I didn't really get offered it. They kind of just picked me up at Big Machine. And I decided to go with Big Machine Music for publishing. And then, you know, kind of the rest was history and I haven't obviously moved back 12 years later.
Yeah. Still here.
Still here.
Wow. Incredible.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
It is very wild. I don't even know where to go because so much has happened, right?
So much
in
has
12
happened.
years. And you were at Big Machine. Was that like Republic?
I was on Republic Records. And then,
Yeah.
and then they switched me to Valerie Records. And you know, I think that the thing that was the hardest for me at first is when you have a really big personality, they like everybody wants to go kitschy with you. Like everything has to be like a kitschy lyric. Everything has to be, and listen, I love writing kitschy songs. Like it is my vibe.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that like how much like depth I had until like I started really channeling like the things that I'd actually like gone through and putting those into songs. And it's like I commend, you know, Judy Stakey. So where it ended with her. So Judy kind of really helped champion me.
Yeah.
Like I said, like she got me those first rights in town and she managed me for a little bit. And the one thing that she said to me that changed my life forever as a songwriter is I would try to fit a whole story like in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And she said to me, she goes, hey, Ray, how long is a movie? And I was like, roughly 2.5 hours. And she's like, okay. And she goes, how long is a song? And I was like, about 3 minutes. And she's like, have you realized that each scene has a different song for a different mood? And she's like, you don't have to tell the whole story in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just telling a moment. A song is a moment in time. It's a moment of the movie.
Yeah.
And she's like, figure out what that moment is. And that's the destination. That's the chorus. And the verse just gets you to that destination. And something about that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's when it completely changed my songwriting. I was like, oh, I don't have to write these intricate story songs. I just need to write what's the moment what do I want? What's the thing that I want to express? And how do I get that in 3 minutes? Like, and I'm not saying I do love story songs where you tell the whole story and that's a different strategic way to write.
Yeah.
But when she said that, something about that, when she related it to the movie and like all the different songs in a movie from different emotions, it made sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I was writing a lot at the time with Jimmy Robbins and Nicole Gallium. And at this time, had written so many fun, up-tempo songs. Like, you know, when I go back and listen to them, they were just super rowdy, super crazy. And another big piece of advice that another publisher told me is they were like, just show up.
Yeah.
Whatever mood you're in, show up in that and write from that place. And I think for me, when I first started out, it was a lot of like, I got to be an artist. I got to do this. I got to be on. I got to do, I got to write this kind of song. This is what everybody's expecting. But the day that I wrote Love Triangle, everything changed for me.
Yeah.
And I had been dealing a lot with my parents that day, kind of stuck in the middle of a stupid situation. And I didn't want to go to my write that day. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up. I'm going to do it. I'm writing with Jimmy and Nicole, two of my favorite people. We'll get something great.
Yeah.
And so I get to my write, and they knew something was off. They knew I was just not in the best headspace. And so I kind of started just talking about how honestly shitty it was to kind of grow up in a divorced home, and the emotions that I felt, and the tug of like, not saying this in front of my mom to upset her, and not saying this in front of my dad, and like all those emotions.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, but I don't want to write anything sad today. Let's write something fun. And I started going through my titles. I was like, let's write a song called Love Triangle. And it was like right when I said that title, after just talking about what I had gone through, we all just looked at each other and we were like, and then Jimmy was playing the and he was like playing that kind of under when you were talking, kind of like worship, it's like you're just kind of feeling down.
Yeah.
Worship music. And so that's when we started writing Love Triangle. And when I got done writing that song and I turned that song in, that's when like kind of the calls just started happening for me in town, where they're like, oh, okay, she's more than just
I
the
see.
Kitschy.
Yeah.
Like
there's some depth here.
There's some depth here that we can work with.
Yeah.
And it really, and it opened so much of my, songwriting abilities to be like, okay, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not, I see the value in showcasing emotions in your rights. And like, cause I was actually kind of nervous to do that, cause I didn't want anybody to really figure me out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I realized like, oh, it's okay to, talk about what you're going through, because your song might relate to somebody else. And I thought about, it's so funny because my favorite songs are all the emotional ones, like The House That Built Me and I Drive Your Truck. Like the songs that make me feel something are my favorites. But I guess it's because I didn't really know, I hadn't really gone through anything. Like in life, I was 16, 17.
Well, it's weird because like when you're young too, I just remember when I first started writing songs and like, it was like the big bands were like Simple Plan. And all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, this like they get me. And like I hadn't gone through anything. I was like in middle school and like, I don't know, my crush like thought it was weird or something. Like that was like the extent of my life experiences. And I remember like wishing that something, hard would happen to me so I could feel like a real human, and like should have just, if I could go back and tell myself, I'd just be like, hey, stay tuned, buddy.
Oh, you're going to go through some shit and you're going to write about it.
It gets real.
Yeah.
And, I think that's what only life can bring. And life will cut you down along the way. But it's good. I mean, it's good. There's so much beauty in there. That's how you can't have the highs without the lows.
You really can't.
Yeah.
And I was able to score an awesome manager through Love Triangle, and I had a great team. And then after writing Love Triangle, I wrote God Made Girls.
Yeah.
Which
song.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, Love Triangle is like probably one of my favorite songs of all time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an incredible song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of those things I think that's hard that nobody like ever talks about in Nashville, is like the loss of a great song. Like, I hate like putting expectations on things, but like when you hear, oh, this song's number one, oh, this song's song of the year, oh, this song is single of the year, oh, this song's going to be a multiple week number one. When you're told all those things at 18 and they don't happen, you feel like such a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt that. And
it's really hard when you're on a label and you feel like they promise you the moon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come true. And it's just.
And you feel like it's your fault.
You feel like it's all your fault. It's the word. I'm probably still like recovering
Oh, I'm a recovering
from it?
I'm a recovering Music Row addict for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
I think, and two, I did radio 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I kissed the babies. I sent out the thank you notes. I worked my ass off, and I don't regret any of it because I still, oh my gosh, my radio relationships. I have some that my ride or dies. You know what I mean? But when you freaking go and you do it, and you're promised the moon and it doesn't happen, and you're told that you're looking for that validation at such a young age.
Yeah.
That was hard, but I didn't but you know what? It definitely made me really tough.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Yeah.
And through that experience, because I left Big Machine in 20, I was 21, 20, it was right before I turned 22 because I signed my next record deal at 22. So I moved here at 18. I think I was there for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And, I always knew I wanted to do music, but I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to be a wife. I always had other things that I wanted to do in my heart. I was I'm going to be that artist that when I pull up to my show and the door opens, Fisher Price falls out. This is what I see for my life.
Yeah.
I didn't want the whole rock star, I'm going to date a bunch of people. That wasn't, that's not, that was never me. I really did want a whole life. And I was one day this is all going to go away and what am I going to have?
Yeah.
And that priority, I will say I set for myself at a very young age. I knew that I wanted those things. And, so in that time of when God made girls, another thing, they were number one, blah, 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 all these things. All that time that I had, I was able to, focus on songwriting, all that stuff. But I met the love of my life, Joshua Brown Davis, who about to celebrate 9 years of marriage.
Wow. Got
Got married at 21. And when I got married in Nashville, it was not the thing to do. I was told you need to be available. You need to do this. This is going to ruin your career.
Yeah.
And I will say, I am proud of myself because I really didn't let that get to me. I was
good for you.
to hell with you, dude. You don't give a shit about my everyday life. I'm not going home to you. I'm going home to loneliness and stuff like that. I love this guy. If I make a mistake, I'll figure that out, but let me figure out my own damn life. Don't.
And you got to build a life that is real.
Yes.
I think it was Billy Montana was we talk about it all the time. It's when something, when your single doesn't work out at radio or you get, off a label or something, all that advice, those people just go to work the next day.
They do.
And that's fine. That they have a job and a life too.
Absolutely.
And, we got to make a life for ourselves too.
Outside of music.
Yeah.
And I think those years, because like I said, I got married at 21, going through multiple record deals, all of the highs and lows, the one thing that kept me sane was Jesus and Josh, straight up. Was my relationship with my husband and my relationship with God, because it was a whirlwind, and but after Big Machine, so basically I was there for a while and I had this whole idea for a project, and we just didn't really agree on creative on that. And so I was like, screw it, I'm done. And so I left. I didn't think I was going to do music anymore. So dramatic. Back to being dramatic. I'm like, I'm 21. I'm done with this. I've given it all I've got. And I'm going to go to hair school and do hair. I don't know. I was crazy. And then I showed the record that I wanted to put out to a couple labels in town. Within a month, offered 2 record deals from 2 majors. Yeah. Which was wild. Yeah. For the project that the Big Machine just didn't want to put out. Yeah. And so, sorry to name drop, I don't care.
No, that's all right.
But the project that, they didn't really align with, and decided to go over to Warner, which was awesome. And I think another thing that a lot of people don't know is, I think another thing that's hard for me and about the music industry is that it's like the music industry is like musical chairs. So you sign to a label because of your believers, but you don't realize they're on a contract, they're on a salary, it's their job. And to keep everybody believing is such a job, truly.
Yeah.
And all the people that I loved at Warner that were my champions all left within the first year of me being there.
Yeah.
Maybe first and second. And so I'm like having to like re-excite people that weren't there when I got signed. They don't truly, and I was okay with that, but that's a hard thing to have to like hard pressure. And it's like, well, just pop in and, it's good for them to see your face and like, go over and pop in and play them a couple songs. I'm like, I have to get these people excited about me. I'm already signed here. Why do I have to like go into this label after writing all day when I want to go home out and hang out with my husband? Yeah. And then you're like, you lose your fire. You're not as committed because you don't want to stay in a like play this game all damn day, every single day. And it's like, and I'm all about playing. I'm all about working hard. Like, but also it's like, when does it stop a little bit? Like, when can we all just be like, okay, everybody's talented. Let's focus on this song. Let's do it, guys. Like, I felt like it was just such like a dog and pony show all the time. And I was like, okay, for all the reasons that you signed me, the reasons that I'm different, I'm like, you literally want to change and you want to make me this cookie cutter country artist that looks and sounds like everybody else.
Yeah.
Make that make sense.
Yeah.
I
do. Yeah.
I know but like it's still frustrating when I think about it. I'm like,
I felt like it was just like trying to make someone that had like decided to like marry me be in love with me again. I was like, what happened? Like, what happened just now? How did we just get back to here?
This doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then it's like you're second guessing the songs you're writing, the songs that you actually love, you don't get to put out. There's so many like I'm writing a song, going and showing it to these people and wanting their approval. If I like the song, why does it matter? Like, and it was just like all of that. And then, another failed promise. This song's going to go number one. We just need a down the middle country song. Yeah. Gave it to him. We did the music video. I did it. I was like, I'm down the middle. I'm doing it, y'all. Let's go for it. And didn't work, Avi, because I wasn't sticking true to who I am. Yeah. And then I, left the Warner situation and I signed more of like an independent deal with Florida Georgia Line. And honestly, I think that's when I truly started becoming more of myself.
Yeah.
One thing I loved about being a part of a label that was run by artists is they knew what it was like to be an artist. Yeah. Like Brian knew what it was like to be an artist. Tyler knew what it was like to be an artist. And so they had that aspect of both of like, we want you to put out what you love, but also we want you to put out what makes you feel good and makes you feel like a star. And like they gave their input, but they also let me lead, which was really cool. Yeah. And it was the first time that like I owned my own masters, and I was like, I knew what that felt like. It was a true partnership. It wasn't like I felt heard, and I was just like, oh, this is awesome. And it's ever since then. I mean, how long have I? And now I'm fully independent, and I've been doing it now on my own since 2019, 2018.
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe 2019.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Well, and I think it's so, I have a chip on my shoulder from, whatever, being a Music Row addict and wanting to prove them wrong or whatever. But I'm so inspired by seeing other people go like, yeah, I can do this at the same level as, that's my big thing is it's like, you don't have to have all this stuff to like make an impact with your music, and in fact, sometimes it gets in the way. And I just want people to know being on a label is amazing.
Yes,
it can be
great
amazing.
feeling. It can be amazing.
And having radio success is amazing, and it is a way, but it is not the only way. And I feel like your career is so awesome and cool and unique because you're doing things your way.
Mm-hmm.
And and
still learning.
Yeah.
I think, I was talking about this earlier, but like the false just expectation of like, you're going to have a number one, you're going to do this, you're going to be the biggest superstar, all this bullshit that I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear that I just want to do what I love. My mindset has changed so much. It's like, I want to put out music that I love and I want to make a living.
Yeah.
That's it. If I get to make a living doing what I love, are you kidding me? Like,
amazing. I'm
so blessed. Like, truly. Like, I think about that and it's like when you have nowhere to go but up, and I talked a little bit about this on my Instagram last year, but was it a year ago? Not this last December, but the December before.
Yeah.
So 2022. And I'm like, I was kind of like at the wit's end.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, all right, God, I need you, man.
Yeah.
Are you up there? And I had like $3,000 left in my good old RaeLynn Inc. LLC.
Yeah.
And that's not a lot of money, y'all. I just want you to know. And I was praying and I was just like, and I don't know what you believe or whatever, but I really did hear from God, and like, he was just like, bet on me. Bet on me. When you moved here, and I was just reminded, when I moved to Nashville, I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
All I had was a hope and a prayer, and I loved what I did. And I wasn't jaded. I just liked writing songs and singing country music. I didn't care about any of the bullshit. I just wanted to do what I love. And so I approached 2023 with that, and I was like, all right, well, we can only go up from here. Hopefully. I got I still got to pay for my insulin. I got type 1 diabetes, but we're going to do it in Jesus' name. And I just started every good thing that came my way, or anything, even small wins, big wins, all of it. I just had the most grateful heart. My mindset changed. I just started, I was like, I'm just going to write. I'm not going to worry about not having a publishing deal. Yeah. I'm just going to write with the people that I love and that want to write with me. And because that's another thing. It's like, I think it was hard for me because when you're a signed artist, everybody wants to write with you because they want to get
they want a radio cut. Yeah.
But then when you're not signed, they don't.
Phone stops ringing a little bit.
Phone stops ringing. Yeah. It does. But the ones that know you and believe in your talent will answer those calls and will be there. And I really, truly found out who my true friends were in 2022 and 23. So I just started writing songs with the people that I love. And, I think too, we think, oh, I need to be on a major agency with a major this, major that, everything needs to be major. And I was like, all right, what if I just have a different approach?
Yeah.
Like, what if I go with more of a boutique agency? I just need to get booked on shows. Like, whoever books me gets me, all right? I just need to do shows. I'm not settling for less than this because if it's not worth it for me to leave my baby, because I have a 2.5-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to leave my daughter for 2 nights and make $200, I'm not doing it. Like, it's got to be worth it for me.
Yeah.
And I just basically was just like, went into this agency. I was like, yo, like, I want to travel, but I believe I'm worth this. I can put on a 90-minute show. I love doing this, like, but I've got to make this certain amount for it to make sense for me to leave my family. Like, and literally within 3 weeks, I had like 20 dates on the books that summer.
Amazing.
And then got the opportunity to write my own book. Got the, they were like, hey, do you want to write a children's book? And I'm like, oh my God, I've always wanted to write a children's book. And so then I wrote a children's book last year. And then one of my favorite clothing brands was like, hey, do you want to do a collab and come out with your own clothing line? I was like, hell yeah. And so I just started walking through doors that were coming to me. I wasn't chasing anything. I was just like truly like betting on God and just doing what I love and posting links of cute clothes because I was like, I'm too cool to post links. I'm like, shit, I ain't too cool to post links. You want a link in my shoes, bitch? Here's a link in my shoes. Like, I think the people like, I've never been that kind of person. Like, if I like it, dude, it's yours. Like, I'm not too proud to do anything like that. And so I just started like, thinking outside of the box and like, kind of being my own boss. And 2023 ended up being just as big of a year for me financially as like my God Made Girls year, which was which I can't even believe, but it does make sense because I didn't own anything. But like, and then it's just like, then you finally start seeing like when you release a song as an independent artist, you get to see the money right away from streaming, and you're like,
what?
Whoa, this is what that does. Like, and it just made me excited about
very
music.
Motivating.
It's very, very motivating. Yeah. And then also all of that wrapped up with I get to be a mom and I get to be a wife. Yeah. I get to do everything that I truly love, but it's been, being independent, the thing that, and I'm sure you can feel the same way, it's just like, you feel like in the loop, but not in the loop. Like you're just like, you're on the outskirts. You're okay with that. Yeah. But also it's like.
It's just different.
It's just different. It's not a bad different. Mm-mm. It's just different. Yeah. And, but yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, one last question for you. And then we gotta roll. But what is if you could go back.
Okay.
2012. Jesus. What's one piece of advice that you would just impart on yourself? And it could be about life. It doesn't have to be, anything. It's music specific, but.
If I could go back, it kind of segues to the song that I hate doing this, but like the song I'm releasing soon called Funny Girl. Yeah. The whole point of the song is, life ain't mean, it's just funny, girl. And I got the idea for that song because I'm sitting there writing with one of my really good friends, Lauren Hungate. We're writing on the back porch, and I'm seeing my daughter run around, and I'm thinking like, if I could tell my younger self, show my younger self all the things that she's accomplished, I would just tell her to relax, and to not take life so seriously. It's okay to be a little jaded, but you don't want to be so jaded that you're not open to the magic of Nashville. Because I think when you've been in it as long as you and I have, I kind of forgot that there is still a beautiful magic about Nashville.
Of course there is. Yeah.
And I always say, like, I'm one great song away from getting out of my head. And that's why you have to continue to show up. And I never, and I heard Lainey say this, Lainey Wilson, who I love, but she was just saying like, you either do it or you don't. And then I think even Hardy said this, like, you can't have a plan B. And I think there's something to that. Like, I've never had a plan B. Yeah. Even though I was thinking about going to hair school, but I would literally screw up your hair, so don't let me cut your hair. I can't even cut my own extensions. I tried it one time. It looked like Joe Dirt. But you just like, you really do have to stick it out because you never know when your moment is. And so if I could tell my younger self anything, I would just be like, hang on, girl, you're going to do it. Yeah. Just relax.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
But
well, thank you so much.
Sorry for like talking way too much.
No, it's amazing. Such a great episode. All right. That's it. That's the pod. See you later. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of 10-Year Town. If you're still listening, you must have liked it. So we hope that you will leave us a rating or review on Apple or Spotify, or give us a subscription on YouTube. It's all free. Don't cost you nothing. But we appreciate you being here, and thank you for supporting the 10-Year Town community. See you next week.